how are you? This is Steve Lato again with my dear friend Mark Lieberman. We're at the Troy Traffic Jam. It is the year 2025. We're out here every single year, my friend, and you're one of the organizers. I gotta tell you, this show field is mind-boggling this year.
It's incredible what has come together here. I am always surprised. Each year gets bigger. Each year gets more incredible cars. We're featuring race cars this year. We've added an art tent. I mean, it is really incredible how this event has grown.
And I'll tell you right now, this is also a great cause. They're raising money for the Troy Historical Society. We're being hosted by the fine people at the Columbia Center. Of course, Alan Kierluck, great host. He's got some of his fast cars here too. But I also noticed, I think we should start here, that directly over your left shoulder is a beautiful race car from the old days, and I believe that's your car.
It is. This is a 1913 Ford Model T Speedster. I bought this from the family that's owned this car since the 1920s. It is an incredible survivor. Car's never been restored. They painted it in 1951, but it represents a time in racing history that is, I should say, not to be forgotten. Incredibly well-equipped vehicle. This was really the supercar of the time. It's equipped with a 16-valve cylinder head. These weren't even overhead valve engines to begin with, so that was a tremendous modification at the time. It has a Harry Miller carburetor, exhaust cutout, special lowered suspension, Bosch magneto, all kinds of speed gear from the day. The other amazing thing about this is that the family that had owned it not only raced it for quite a number of years, but when they retired it from racing, this car actually went into driver service. And they used to drive this car on a regular basis for some serious long distance too.
And I'll tell you right now, I love looking at this car. It's like a time capsule from an earlier day. For instance, nowadays you don't often see gas tanks exposed right behind the driver's and passenger's seat. I think over the years we've discovered that there might be better places to put the fuel besides that. But of course you got your trunk back here and a very, very Spartan racing cockpit. Any idea what kind of tracks this race on, what kind of speeds it achieved?
Well, this would be likely, dirt tracks that they ran at the time. But interesting thing about this is that the body that's on this is a Columbia body. And you could buy this body out of a catalog at the time, and then you would modify your car. This was the early stages of the aftermarket developing for automobiles. And so in this instance, they bought this out of a catalog, installed it in the 20s, and now you've got yourself a race car that was indeed competitive at the time.
And I have to point out other nice timepieces is we have this beautiful radiator cap topper here.
It's called a MotoMeter, and that was the temperature gauge.
Yeah, the MotoMeter. So as you're ripping around the track, you just read that because again, there's not a lot of gauges inside. What I love is all the woodwork that you have on this car, and then also if we can get the camera around here and take a look at one of my favorite features on this car is that this right here is the engine sticking through the firewall.
That is the cylinder head that you can see coming through the firewall. But once again, this is early stages of developing an aftermarket race car equipment. And once again, here you have something that has survived all of these years, unrestored, for us to look at, appreciate, and celebrate the history of early racing.
And it is a time capsule. It really is a gorgeous piece of machinery. Again, like I said, you got the nice woodwork here, the nice body work here, and I know that you're working on getting this car running, and maybe someday we might see it like perhaps at the Race of Gentlemen.
It's very possible. We were fortunate enough to be invited to race in it. We should have this car running soon, and who knows, maybe one day I'll be inclined to get it out there and give it a celebration actually running with other cars.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a pop quiz right now. I noticed that there are 4 pedals and 1 button on the floor. I can guess that 1 pedal's the brake, 1 pedal's the gas. What do the other pedals and the button do? Do you know?
So Model Ts did not have an accelerator pedal. That was installed for racing.
Oh, okay.
The throttle was controlled on the steering column here, and as you can see, the gas pedal goes up and down with that as well. Okay, so that was a racing accessory. Then you have a brake pedal, a reverse pedal, and then the clutch pedal. And the clutch pedal works quite opposite of what we're used to. press it all the way to the floor in order for this to go.
Okay, so this, of course, again, the 1913 Ford Model T Speedster. 1913 is quite a while ago, but like I said, it's a time capsule. This was a rocket back in the day. It's a beautiful car. I'm glad you got your hands on it. You're restoring it. And again, we are at the Troy traffic jam at the Columbia Center. We're just east of I-75 and on 16 Mile Road. And of course, anybody who's seeing this on some other date, mark your calendar. Check the website, watch the internet, because this always turns out beautifully. A lot of cars, a lot of amazing cars, things I've never seen before, and somehow you guys always get the weather to cooperate.
Well, this year we did for sure. It's beautiful out. Let's have a look at some other cars.
We'll do that. Once again, we're back at the Troy Traffic Jam. My good friend Mark Lieberman, of course, and Dave Marchione from the Detroit Historical Society, Detroit Historical Museum.
Well, technically I work for the Detroit Historical Society, which is a group that manages the museum.
There you go. Okay, so I got I got it right.
You're right. Let's just call it that you're right.
Yeah, and I love the collection that you guys have got. I've been in the facility that's world famous where you got all the cars in bubbles, suspended animation. But one of the amazing cars you guys have gotten, and I actually went out there years ago to look at this car, but it's outdoors today, which is unusual, is the Chrysler Turbine Car.
Yeah, we were actually gifted the car in 1966. As you know, Chrysler put out a call to museums, and only 6 museums took cars. We were originally one that took it, and the funny part of that is I have the blueprint for the display they were going to build for us, and that's the only reason we took the car was because they were going to build us a display to go in the museum, which never happened. So.
Yeah, that things like that happened, but luckily 9 of the cars survived. There were 55 that got built. There's a whole story behind it, but simply put, Chrysler was experimenting with putting turbine engines, jet engines, into cars starting in about 1953, 54, all the way into the 70s and 80s. But this is the most famous one. This is the bronze car. Let's talk a little bit about this particular car.
Well, as we know, these are one of the 55 that was produced. It was part of the loan program. That's all we really know about it. The car shows 42,000 miles. But if you look at it, some of the more interesting pieces, it's still got the original turbine tires on it. So if you look at the sidewalls of these tires, it's finned like the turbine car. They carry that theme throughout the whole vehicle. It's got its original paint, so it's still got the little bit of the metallic in it, and in the sun you can see that turbine bronze really pops. It's one of my favorite colors that Chrysler ever did, and you can actually get it in 66 on the C-bodies.
To make sure these styling cues are noticed, you'll notice, for instance, there are cooling fins around the headlights, because of course you need those. But it's actually more of just a callback to the turbine engine that's underneath the hood.
Steve, and it carries through to the interior. Take a look at that center console.
And also the thing that holds the rear view mirror to the windshield. And if we can get around here through the window, we can point out that we got a matching interior, beautiful color. You'll notice there's this center console from front to back, which is the world's most advanced ashtray. A lot of people think that, that must be like where the hot gases shoot out the back like it's the Batmobile or something. No, that's just an extremely artistic rendering of the center console and an ashtray. And if you get a chance to see the thing that holds the mirror to the windshield, the rearview mirror, you'll see it has cooling fins on it too, because of course it does.
Well, why wouldn't it? Now, think about this for a second. Here in 1963, they decided to go with this alternative fuel, alternative power vehicle and put 55 of these in the hands of the general public. We're going to experiment out there with the public. Now, they would never do such a thing today, but it's amazing what a success it was and how many people actually ended up driving these cars.
And that fleet of 55 cars, they say they ran them about 1 million miles relatively trouble-free. And so the fact that you can give this car to the average American, think of that today. Would Chrysler, Ford, or GM ever actually have someone sign a one-page contract? Here, take this experimental car for a couple months and just bring it back when you're done with it.
It's crazy because when we got this car, I have the original Hartford insurance card that has Chrysler's name on it. So Chrysler insured them. So if you can imagine giving a prototype to a civilian with Chrysler's insurance on it, saying, if something happens to you, here's the number you call and tell them you have our insurance. I mean, that just doesn't happen nowadays. So, it's one of those, it's an anomaly. I'd love to see, when we have some of the feedback from people that had the cars. So it's interesting to read. The biggest step that we found was when you start them, and you know this, you can't touch the accelerator. If you think about 1963, the first thing you do when you get into a carbureted car is you kick it a couple times to get fuel up to the bowl. If you hit the gas on this before the igniter comes on, it floods it and it shuts everything down.
Yeah, and actually it's one of my favorite points on this car is there's a device underneath the hood, and it's a rather innocuous looking black box, And this right here is the timer reset, or the shame box. Because if you tried starting it and you flooded it, the only way to get the car to start was to come out here, open that box, flip a switch, close that box, and get back in the car. You would do it one time and realize, I don't want to do that again. It's a waste of my time.
Absolutely. One more thing I'd like to mention about this car that is encompassing of all 55 of these very specially built turbine Chryslers is there's somebody that wrote a book about this car. Somebody that was compelled to say, I want the public to know more about this. Steve, tell us about your book.
Oh, I wrote a book. That's right. I actually wrote a book about these cars, and it was a lot of fun to do because when I started working on the car, on the book in the early 2000s, a lot of the engineers and designers who designed these cars were still around, and I interviewed quite a few of them. But you know, this is amazing that you can actually take a jet engine, in essence, jam it in a car, attach an automotive transmission to it, and drive down the road with it. But it does have some unusual features because of that. For instance, this big box right here is the air intake. There's a gigantic air cleaner in here. Air comes in this way and winds up going through there. Likewise, these two side covers, those aluminum side covers, are covering these things called regenerators. And the regenerators recuperate hot air from the exhaust gases to make the engine more efficient in an attempt to get slightly better gas mileage out of it.
Yeah, and what I heard, and I don't know if you heard the same, was that it was dependent on fuel. If you got a better fuel, they got better mileage.
Yep.
It's like a deuce and a half. It'll run on just about anything, but it's how far it's going to take you on what fuel you put in it that it goes.
Right, and one thing I like to ask people if they're walking around the car and I want to try to ask them a trick question, I go, what's that pump for? Do you know?
I do. It's vacuum for the brakes.
Yes, and because it's a turbine engine, it doesn't create engine vacuum like a typical piston engine, internal combustion engine. So it's got to have power for the brakes, so it actually has, in essence, air brakes. It's air over oil, but that's just another one of the oddities of this car.
It is, and you know, there are all kinds of little nuances, but aside from the nuances, there's a lot of stock features. You know, braking system. This was the first coil spring suspension. Remember, they had torsion bar suspension before. So the carryover from their production vehicles into this, there are a lot of similarities.
Yeah, and it's amazing. You know, you take a jet engine and you put it inside a car and you go, boy, that's going to get hot. And yet, they've got the insulation up here because it wasn't too hot. You know, and they had figured all this stuff out, but they spent so much time, thousands and thousands of man hours, millions of dollars on the project. Eventually, it wound down and they didn't get into production. And there's a whole story behind that. In fact, books could be written on it, probably have been. But the real point is that we have 9 of the survivors, and this is one of them. And it's absolutely wonderful that you guys have brought this out to the show.
Yeah, we were really excited. You know, we're always happy to participate with the Troy Historic Village folks. They asked us to bring the car out. It's always interesting to have them out. You know, it's great when we have them at our museum, but showing cars outdoors and talking to people on this level is a whole other thing. So
yeah. So right now I'm going to ask Mark to take you around back by the trunk so I can try to pry off this Chrysler Corporation Turbine Car badge. I haven't got one of those.
Well, I don't know where you live, but I know where Mark lives. So
okay, there you go.
Jump if you feel froggish, as they say.
Okay. Well, Dave Marchione from the Detroit Historical Museum, thank you very much for showing us this wonderful car. Thanks for bringing it out. It's an absolute treat. For Mark Lieberman, I'm Steve Leto. We are at the Troy Traffic Jam at the Columbia Center. And again, if you're not here this year, you missed out a lot of cool stuff, but there's always cool stuff here, so be sure to check this out. And once again, I'm Steve Leto. We're back at the Troy Traffic Jam with my dear friend Mark Lieberman and Jeff Nowicki. And I just met you moments ago, but I see a beautiful display you've got here. Tell me a little bit about what you guys do.
So again, my name is Jeff Nowicki from Nowicki Autosport Design. This is our Concept 8 Stingray Corvette. So essentially what this is we take a Stingray and we turn it into basically a Z06 with Corvette. So we have different carbon fiber pieces, but also we have these flares on the vehicle that grow the car so you can put a 335 Michelin tire in the back and a 285 in front. But we have all different accessories that are either a la carte or we can actually build a car for you, or if a dealer sends us a car. And we've got some marvelous partners, as you see on the front here. I used to be a professional race car driver, and I've been moved into kind of a brand ambassador role. And so we represented all these different activations, and being here at the Troy Traffic Jam is one that's really huge for us because we do a lot of, besides meeting a lot of people, a lot of data collection here, and we'd give away survey questions, then they get a really cool t-shirt. But it's really a lot of fun being here, and it's just really a marvelous event.
And I got to tell you, this is a beautiful looking car. It's got a kind of a mean look to it. It looks fast.
It is. This one here actually has a 675 horsepower stroker engine in it. So different. We take the LT2 production Corvette engine, we turn into a stroker engine. So it means different crank rods and pistons, about 625 foot-pounds of torque, and then different racing exhaust and headers. And then we do some suspension upgrades, and then this also has the big Brembo GT package because you got to be able to stop all that horsepower as well.
Growing up in Detroit, the Detroit area, Mark and I spent a little bit of time out on Woodward Avenue. And back in the old days, you got a car that had a gigantic engine, you pointed it straight and you floored it. We didn't care if it steered or turned.
That was less important. You just had to get in front of who you were next to. That was the end of the game. Now, not only do you have the ability to steer and stop and ride and handle, but these cars think for themselves. You know, it's amazing how they integrate these computer systems not only to control traction and braking, but all kinds of things are now being adapted into this. Do you have any experience in working with these advanced systems as well?
Well, they almost get a little too smart. So, yeah, because of the global electronics that are on these cars now, and it's called Global B. It's really hard to tune these cars now. So there's only so many people that can actually do what we do with these cars, you know, kind of nationwide, because the OEs have kind of locked us out of the computers, and now we've had to kind of backwards engineer to be able to tune these cars so that they can run properly. So it's a little bit of a select group that can build cars like this.
Wow. Now let's take a walk back here and take a look at both. There's a beautiful cockpit here. We'll get to that in a moment. But of course, the engine is back here as God intended.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
So this is the carbon PTR plenum. This is the air intake system here, but basically this is about a $30,000 upgrade to the price of this car because of the stroker engine. So instead of just doing like a heads and cam package, the engine comes completely out of this car, and then gets purpose built, and then gets reinstalled, and then dynoed, and then tuned.
So can you tell me any performance numbers? I don't know, top speed, quarter mile, anything like that? Or
So quarter mile, this car will do high 10s.
Oh.
And 0 to 60, you're looking at probably about 2.8. It's a really pretty impressive. And with this size tire, it can really put the power down.
I think back to the days where I had a big block Charger in high school, and you stomped on it, and the wheels might spin a little bit, but it's nothing like the neck snapping acceleration you got in this.
Well, plus he's got traction control, it's got launch control. I mean, and what Mark said too, as far as electronics on these cars now, I mean, they've come so far. We just came from the Corvette Tech Talks, and they were talking about the ZR1X, which actually has a sub 2 seconds 0 to 60 time. Because that is actually a mesh between the E-Ray and the ZR1, so you got electric motor up front, and so you got all-wheel drive, and you got instant grip. So we wish we could get to that with this, but we're pretty close for a base Stingray and taking it to the next level. We started this program back in about 2020 when there wasn't a wide-body version of this car. So now, if people still have their Stingray, they can, and don't want to do an E-Ray, they don't want to do a Z06 or a ZR1, we can do a Concept 8 package for you.
And you understand that when you're talking about something being 2 seconds or less, that's almost time travel.
It really is. I mean, it snaps your head back, so quick. Sometimes your eyeballs will probably, fall back with them. So
right.
Crazy.
Trying to maintain your consciousness.
Jeff, thank you so much for sharing with us the magic that you guys do over here. Let's go on and take a look at some more amazing cars.
And welcome once again back to the Troy Traffic Jam. We are at the Columbia Center on 16 Mile Road, just east of I-75. And it's an annual event out here, raises money for the Troy Historical Society. That's a good cause. I'm Steve Leto, Mark Lieberman, and today, right now, we're talking to Bill Galling, who owns this beautiful car behind me. Tell me about it.
It's a 1931 Chrysler Imperial. It's called the CG series, was built for 31 and 32. In 31, they sold 3,228 total Imperials. 1,195 was this car. So this amounted for most of it.
Okay, and
Sedan.
a club sedan.
Right, meaning no window here and the doors are to the other. The four-door sedan would have more of a gapping, and then you'd get an opera window in the back.
Okay, and I hate to use the term, but some people are going to notice that this has got what they call suicide doors, meaning the one door opens this way, one door opens that way.
Correct.
It's kind of gone away, but that was a style back then.
That was the style back then.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And how long have you owned this car?
Almost 15 years. I bought it at an R&M auction over at St. John's.
Okay. It is absolutely gorgeous. Let's take a walk around it. We're going to check out some of the neater features about it.
These are amazing automobiles, and they capture a point in time where the American public was responding well to cars with opulent features and comfortable rides. And Bill, I know you've had a lot of experience driving this car. What is it like to operate this special car?
It drives very well. I mean, it's very soft on the road. The one thing you have to do is don't let the engine get up too hard when you shift it. It does have a synchromesh transmission in it, but it just runs really great. And what you look on all of the style of these, when you compare it to like a Packard is taller. This car could have been maybe even that they thought at the time of a front wheel drive, but you'll see it's much lower in the front than most of the cars of its day. Very sleek.
It is. The other thing that's very interesting about their overall design characteristic is that they gave you not only a lot of more than ample amount of passenger compartment room, but even the driver's cabin, which was typically very, very tight in 1931, seems to be much more generous in this car.
Obviously, there's still 5 passenger. But yes, it's very. Once I'm in, it's very comfortable.
Yes, getting in and out can be more of
a little bit. The doors are a little smaller in the front, but it all fits really well. I mean, people weren't quite my size back then.
So these have a straight 8 engine.
Straight 8. It's 125 horsepower, and it is a Imperial 8, not a Chrysler 8. So I mean, the horsepower on this engine is different from the Chrysler.
Now, didn't Imperial spin off as its own brand for a period of time?
It did in the 1950s. It became its own brand, and then it went back underneath the Chrysler nameplate.
And then at the time that this car was being built, it was just a high-end model for Chrysler.
That's correct.
Now, these engines are extremely smooth when they operate, aren't they?
Very smooth.
And a lot of torque.
A lot of torque.
Yeah. So for the most part, this car can be driven pretty comfortable in traffic as well.
Very much. I mean, this car is very good on the streets. I don't know that the freeway's a little something different because obviously it didn't go that fast back in 1931. But it really is. And the other thing on the front you'll see in the advertising for Chrysler all along has been the Chrysler wings, and we have our wings right here.
On the side of the mascot.
On the side of the mascot, the Impala. So you've got the Chrysler wings here.
Now, if you could see through the protective grill mesh on the front, you would see a series of louvers in this grill.
And they would open.
Right, those are the thermostatic louvers.
Correct.
That instead of having an internal thermostat for this engine, they open and close in order to control the airflow through the radiator and therefore control the temperature in the engine.
Correct.
This car okay in hot weather?
Yes, it is.
Lovely, lovely. Well, thank you for so much for bringing this beautiful automobile to the Troy Traffic Jam. We're grateful that you get it out and enjoy it with this terrific crowd.
Very much enjoy the invitation and being here.
And once again, we're back at the Troy Traffic Jam in Troy, Michigan. I'm Steve Lato with my good friend Mark Lieberman. And this is a very, very important car we're going to talk about right here because I have a channel on YouTube and I've got a couple subscribers. And occasionally they say, Steve, you mentioned you've got a Backdraft Cobra, which is a Cobra replica. You've done a video or two about it, but no matter what I cover in the video, I get more questions. I thought to myself, okay, Mark Lieberman at Nostalgic Motoring is the man who got this car for me. I ordered it through you, you're a Backdraft dealer. And so I'm going to sit here now and go through the car with you to make sure we answer every question anybody might ever have about this Cobra to end that argument.
Well, I'm sure that there will still be questions, as there always are. But these are amazing automobiles. They're a lot of fun. They, most importantly, harken back to an earlier era of sports cars, powerful engines, and a driving experience that's unlike what you get in modern cars. No longer would you consider things like traction control and computer management systems for anti-lock braking. Here, when these cars were originally new, this was all analog. It was truly the skill of the driver and his coordination with the machine in order to be able to navigate around some really incredible racetracks.
And so this is a replica of a Shelby Cobra. If you've seen Ford versus Ferrari, you're familiar with Carroll Shelby. That's what has introduced a whole new generation of people to him. But the originals of these cars are priced out of my marketplace. But the cool thing is this is a very, very faithful reproduction as far as the way it looks, although the powertrain's been upgraded. But you'll see, for instance, it's got the knockoff hubs, which is pretty cool. It's got authentic side pipes, again, very, very cool. And it looks like a Cobra in every manner and respect. And these are built in Florida by Backdraft Racing.
Correct. Now, the interesting thing about the example that you ordered and spec'd in to your particular desires was you didn't want to emulate an original style conventional drivetrain. You put a modern drivetrain in this. So we have a 5-liter Coyote engine coupled to a 10-speed automatic transmission. So you've got modern powertrain with classic styling.
And what's amazing is it's very, very fun to drive. I have another cool car that does not get anywhere near the attention that this car does. And even young people, I get people yelling at me and nice things and waving, asking if they can take pictures with it. And I'm very surprised, but it appeals to a lot of people.
It does. There is something about these that has a universal appeal. People like seeing them. You certainly like hearing them. They have a great sound to them. And the Coyote has an unusual bark to it, different than what you would hear from either a board and stroke small block or a big block engine.
Now, one thing I get a lot of questions about is how authentic, for instance, is the drivetrain. You just mentioned that a second ago, that obviously back in the day, you'd pop the hood, you might see a carburetor or something. That's not what you're seeing here.
It is not. You've got fuel injection here. You've got modern electronics. Originally, you could get 289 that was well built, warmed over with a 4-barrel carburetor, or if you really went for the SC model, you would get a 427. And so in this particular instance, you've got yourself a modern Coyote Gen 3 installation here, and as I said, with a paddle-shifted automatic 10-speed transmission.
And one thing I will point out, for instance, is that because this car was custom built to my specifications, I sat down with you before the car was even assembled and picked out things like the stitching color on the seats to make sure that would match the color of the paint. The paint, by the way, is actually not an authentic Cobra color. The Cobras would have been Guardsman blue, which is a tiny little bit deeper than this, but I actually like Viper blue. And I asked you, can I get it in Viper blue? And you said, yes, you can.
Of course. You know, these things are built to spec and painted to spec. And tell me why you chose Viper blue.
Well, I like Vipers, and I've actually got a red Viper, but years ago I had an opportunity to drive a Viper GTS that was blue with white stripes. I've got a photograph of that car on my living room wall. So I love these cars. I think they're really cool, but the thing, of course, is they're very Spartan. They're very simple. This door probably weighs, I'm guessing, about 6 ounces maybe. And I remember the day I picked this car up, you said, whatever you do, don't ever lean on that door. You said you move it to get into the car. It's acrobatic to get into the car, but do not lean on that door.
Right. You know, there are certain things about this vehicle that you have to just know going in. And there are some things that you may take for granted because of the robust nature of many modern conventional builds. You have to relearn all of that when it comes to these cars. So these are little nuances that you get used to and you say, okay, it's part of the personality of this car.
It's part of the personality, but of course you've got a nice open dashboard there with a lot of nice gauges on it, and you've got the gigantic tachometer. And you've got a speedometer there somewhere, but that's more of an advisory thing.
Well, yeah, on a lot of these cars, we use GPS speedometers. So they're not connected by cable or by wire to the drivetrain, and they're quite accurate and they're interesting to use until you go through a tunnel.
Which, of course, are there speed limits in tunnels? I don't know.
There must be, but you won't be able to tell how fast you're going with a GPS speedo.
Right, and I do have people ask me about this device right here. This, of course, is a roll bar.
It is.
I've had people say, but wait a second, Steve, why doesn't the passenger get one? I say, let's face it, if we need that, we're both in trouble.
Some of the cars actually spec in the second roll bar, but for the most part, if you're going to keep with a traditional look, the race cars did not carry passengers, and therefore you only had a single roll bar.
It was an option I opted not to get. And I have people start asking me, they say, well, wait a second, Steve, what about the safety features in this car? And I'm like, you're talking completely the wrong language here, because people do ask me, they say, hey, Steve, what are these things over here on the back of the car? They go, those are the worst looking bumpers I've ever seen. I go, this car hasn't got bumpers.
No, those are quick jacks. That's, again, a styling feature that was functional for race cars, but is little more than an ornament for these continuation vehicles.
Right, so if you're in a race and you pull into the pits and you want to change both back tires, there's a device that comes in here, goes under and pries the car up really, really fast. You spin the spinners off, pull off tires, slap on a new tire, put spinner back on, drop it, and go.
On to the next.
Yeah, a little bit faster than you or I might do a tire change in our own driveway.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. But these are a lot of fun. And as I recall, when you picked this car up from me, it was rather chilly out.
Yes.
And you insisted upon driving it home anyway.
I did, but you'll recall that among the various options that were available on it, I did choose to get an interior heater, and there are heated seats. And I remember I was thinking to myself, why would I need heated seats in this car? Driving here before the sun came up this morning to get a good parking spot, it was chilly, and I appreciated the heated seats.
Absolutely. And little nuances like that that are available on these bespoke builds. And the idea is to, create an automobile that's right for you.
Yeah, and the other thing is I have to point out is that I got it with the third generation Roush Coyote. It's a very, very powerful engine, but I believe they make them even more powerful. It's available as an option on this car if you have the money and the guts.
Yes, you can even get a supercharged version of these.
Okay.
So, which is terrifying in a word. So you got to keep in mind they're light automobiles.
Yes.
You put enough power to these things, and it's just like driving on ice.
And I'm not sure if we can get a photograph that actually shows it, but how wide these tires are, the actual surface area of the tire that's on the ground, it's an amazing grip. And yet, strangely, occasionally they break loose for some strange reason.
Yeah, that's because you got your foot in it.
Okay, well, I wasn't going to say that. And then the other thing I'm going to mention, and this, of course, is actually what tops off the entire car, and that is the racing gas cap. You got to have one of these racing gas caps. My Viper's got one, this car's got one, whatever my next car is, it's got to have one too.
It's the little ornamentation that fills in the details for these. It's a lot of fun. Steve, I'm so glad you brought this car out for people to enjoy and for you to enjoy on the way out and back. So thanks again.
And I've had a lot of people say, oh my God, this is such a cool car. Where'd you get it? And I go, my good friend Mark Lieberman, he's around here somewhere. Go talk to him. He can order you one. So once again, I'm Steve Lato. This is Mark Lieberman. We're at the Troy Traffic Jam. This is an annual event to raise money for the Troy Historical Society. If you didn't make it out this year, you missed a great show. But you can, of course, go online, check it out next year. We'll be there, of course. Probably shoot more videos. Who knows what car I'll be driving then. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.